Welcome to Lunch with the Lord. I'm Pastor Mark. We're in Judges chapter 9. We're going to be starting verse 26 this lesson. But before we begin, Jeremiah 15:16, Thy words were found, and I did eat them, and thy word was unto me the joy and the rejoicing of my heart. Now, last lesson we left off with the beginning work of the evil spirit. Everything you're seeing until the rest of this chapter is all workings by the evil spirit to bring division and hatred and anger, eventually death between Abimelech and the people of Shechem and the people of Millo. Now, let's get into verse 26, and he says here, And Gaal, the son of Ebed, came with his brethren and went over to Shechem, and to the men of Shechem, they put their confidence in him. Now we see a man named Gaal introduced onto the scene. His father's name is Ebed, which means servant. And Gaal's name means loathing. So some commentators say, well, Gaal, he's the son of a loathing servant. He's a loathing son of a servant. And, I guess that's stretching it a little far. But anyways, this is Gaal. And he comes to Shechem with his brethren. Now, I guess it means his actual brothers, or maybe it could be maybe people from his own, not tribe, but from his own nationality. Now, the evil spirit chose Gaal and his brethren to raise them up to be in opposition to Abimelech. Now listen, don't think that Satan's kingdom does not know a lot about you. They know your strengths, they know your weaknesses, and they know those things that they can tempt you with to get you to do their work. Satan's kingdom has enough information about every single person on this earth. He knows where their weaknesses are, how to tempt them, and so this is why the evil spirit is picking out Gaal and his brethren here to introduce them into this conflict. Although Satan cannot read your mind, yet he and his kingdom, they listen to your words and they see your actions in order to learn all that they can about you. They bring temptations into your path, and they see if you will bite the temptation. They'll see if you'll be taken in by it or not. Satan's kingdom has plenty of information on every person on the earth. Gaal and his brothers come to Shechem, and the men of Shechem, they see Gaal as a man that they can be confident in to help bring about their desire. But this reveals the blindness of the men of Shechem as to the object that they put their confidence in. They put their confidence basically in flesh and blood. They were looking to Gaal to rid them of the reign of Abimelech. And they put their confidence in a man. In 2 Chronicles chapter 32 and verse 8, Hezekiah said, With him is an arm of flesh, but with us is the Lord our God. This is the way it is. Many, even some Christians get duped into thinking, we got a powerful ruler. We got great armies with us. We got great weapons to protect us. You know what that is? Those are words spoken about the arm of the flesh. We need to put our confidence in God. We need to say what Hezekiah said. With him, with our enemy, whoever our enemy is, with them, they're trusting in the arm of the flesh. But with us, you know what? It's the Lord our God. The Lord our God. He is our protection. He is our rock and our fortress. I'm sure Gaal looked strong and courageous, but he is only flesh and blood, whereas God is almighty and he is trustworthy. The evil spirit brought just the kind of man that he knew would appeal to the men of Shechem. Now, verse 27, and they went out into the fields, and they gathered their vineyards, and trode the grapes, and made merry, and went into the house of their God, and did eat and drink, and they cursed Abimelech. Now, all the men of Gaal and Shechem gather up grapes in order to make wine, and to go into the house of Baal Bereth, to have a party and to curse Abimelech. But God's way of preparing for a battle is not to party and to get drunk. God tests the hearts before he sends them out to battle. And this is the way God's dealing with man is. God doesn't say, hey, I'm getting ready to send you out on a battle. Why don't you get the wine and kill the fatted calf, and we can have a party tonight. We'll go to battle tomorrow. No, that's not God's way. God's way of sending people out into the battle is to test their heart. Test their heart. See if they're going to be trusting and relying upon him like Gideon did. Gaal, Shechem, they drank, and they shouted, and they cursed. But there was no prayer unto God. They had a feast in the temple of their idol, but their idol could not hear, and he could not speak. They may have beseeched Baal Bereth to help them to be released from the control of Abimelech. But the work of the evil spirit was not done yet. Listen, don't judge other religious groups or even churches that are materially prosperous as being spiritually prosperous. Spiritual prosperity is never measured by how much stuff a church or a person has, but it is determined by how dead we are to the stuff. Listen, let me say that again. Don't judge other religious groups or even churches that are materially prosperous as being spiritually prosperous. Remember, spiritual prosperity is never measured by how much stuff a church or a person has, but it is determined by how dead we are to the stuff. Listen, do we own the stuff or does the stuff own us? And that's what we're saying. Can you live without the stuff? Can you thrive on fasting and prayer and trusting God? How much does the wealth and the stained glass windows and the nice pews, how much of that stuff enters into their spiritual walk with God? God's not impressed with any of that stuff. God's not impressed with how much stuff we have. Luke chapter 12 verse 15. Luke chapter 12 verse 15. Let me turn there. I wasn't planning on it. Luke 12:15 says, and Jesus said unto them, take heed and beware of what? Covetousness. For a man's life, what? A man's life consists not in the abundance of the things which he possesses. And that's the same with a church or a country. A church or a country's life is not in the things that they possess. It's all in the Lord, how much we're trusting in Him. Remember, He is our portion. God is our portion in this life. God tested Job by how? By taking everything from him except his wife. It was only after he passed the test and in his heart he was willing to live without those things that God blessed him. God tested Job. And he took everything from him. That was the test. God stripped it all from him. Took his sheep, goats, camels, whatever he had. Even his children. Left his wife. But everything else gone. That was how God tested Job. Yeah. And then after Job finally passed the test and realized, you know what? My life doesn't consist in the same things that I possess. My life is in the Lord. Then God blessed him. That's when God blessed him. We are to put our trust in God only, not in the blessings that He gives us. Now, verse 28. Verse 28 says, and Gaal, the son of Ebed, said, who is Abimelech, and who is Shechem, that we should serve him? Is not he the son of Jerubbaal, and Zebul his officer? Serve the men of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for why should we serve him? Meaning Abimelech. Now, in Matthew chapter 13 and verse 28, in the parable of the sower, Jesus said that the enemy, who was Satan, is the one who sowed the tares in the field. It is Satan's kingdom that plants his followers or his children in the church or in places around the world to bring about his destruction. Satan is the one who plants them. Jesus said that. He says, Satan's kingdom is the one who planted these tares. So if you've got tares in your church, they're not there from God. Satan planted them. And if you got destruction going on in your countries, because Satan has planted those people to bring about destruction. The evil spirit is being allowed by God to plant Gaal into this situation to ultimately bring about the destruction of Abimelech and the people of Shechem and Millo. In verse 28, we see Gaal is being defiant. While Gaal and the other men were in the temple of Baal Bereth, drinking wine and feasting, it was easy for them to speak great swelling words against Abimelech. But their words had no solid ground to rest upon. They were trusting in the arm of the flesh. In 1 Samuel chapter 4 and verse 6, the children of Israel shouted with a great shout because the Ark of the Covenant was brought into the camp. But they used the Ark in such a way that if they rubbed it in a certain way, that God would suddenly appear and do all that they wished. But they didn't know that no matter how much they rubbed the ark, God was going to bring defeat to the children of Israel. Why? Because of Eli and his two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, and because the children of Israel had allowed their relationship to God to become a stiff and a tasteless religion. God was not going to put up with it. Even though the Ark of the Covenant came into the camp and the children of Israel started shouting, "Wow, the Ark is here. We're going to win. We're going to beat the Philistines." No. The Ark is there, all right, but the Ark is there to bring judgment. The Ark is there to bring judgment upon Israel first, and then he's going to judge the Philistines second. God's there, but he's not there. He's not there for us to rub the genie out of the bottle, and then we can present our wishes to him. No. God isn't like that at all. No, God's there, but God's got to judge his people. He's starting with Eli and Hophni and Phinehas, those who were supposed to represent the character and the nature of God to the heart of the people. And they were evil people. And God judged them and disciplined the children of Israel. In verse 28, Gaal asks, "Who is Abimelech and who is Shechem that we should serve him?" Gaal, basically what he says is, who is this worthless, cruel person, Abimelech? And why should the people of Shechem serve him when they have such a great history and they do not need Abimelech? Gaal continues and he says, "Isn't Abimelech the son of Jerubbaal who tore down Baal's altar? Abimelech should have no portion in this city that worships Baal. And why should we submit to one of his officers, Zebul, who is set over us? Wasn't Abimelech supposed to reign right here in Shechem? We were the ones who first supported him." So he's bringing up these questions. And he's saying, why should the men of Shechem serve him? We promoted Abimelech. We thought he would come here and rule. We thought he would bring business to our community here, to our city. We thought that the king would reign from Shechem and that everything would be nice. We would become a more powerful city. But no, he becomes king and he moves somewhere else. And we have our city of Shechem, we have a great history. Why do we need Abimelech? We don't need him reigning over us. Then Gaal tells them to put away the rule of this son of an Abiezrite and look for one of the descendants of Hamor, who was the father of Shechem. If you want, you can read in Genesis chapter 34, verses 1 and 2. You'll see that Hazor was the king of the Hivites, and he had a son, and Hazor's son's name was Shechem, and that's where the name of the city Shechem comes. So this is why he's saying that he should reign, that the descendants of Hamor, those should be the ones who should be reigning over Shechem, the city of Shechem. Remember, Hamor and his descendants were Hivites, not Israelites. The Shechems, the original people that founded the city of Shechem were Hivites. They weren't Israelites. All right, we're going to continue in verse 29 next lesson, but until then, walk with the Lord. I know he walks with you.